Well, it's a hallmark of globalization and the India opportunity, as Sebastian did say that you have a French person and a Dutch person joining in to talk about the opportunity in India about travel. But as the world comes closer, right now we also have the uncertainty that we just spoke about. We've heard the hospitality side of things, but from an airline standpoint, do you think there could be near-term travel-related issues because of rising costs, maybe global growth forecasts being pared down, etc.? Do you think that would hit the aviation industry?
If we look to the aviation industry in India itself, the domestic market is just going and growing going forward. And of course, India is not isolated from what's happening in the rest of the world, but the underlying fundamentals of the Indian market, I think, are very strong. And with that, we're very confident that our growth path will continue to be there. One could even argue with some of the relationships between India and other countries, and recently a huge European delegation was here, is strengthening given the overall geopolitical context. So we're actually quite optimistic on that outlook, and we did not make any adjustments to our plans.
All right, so you haven't made any adjustment to your plans. The domestic market in India is fairly strong. You have a strong international aspiration as well. 40 destinations in FY25. How many more in FY26? And what proportion of your revenue do you expect should come from the international operations over the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, it's a good point. I think India was to some extent underserved, and a lot of the hubs were actually placed outside the geographical scope of India itself. So clearly the ambition of IndiGo is to make sure that a lot of that international travel is actually traveling on an Indian operator, and that Indian operator being IndiGo. So we moved in a time frame of just 2-3 years from 20-ish to 40 international destinations. We've doubled the number of international routes from 60 to 120. I do expect for the next year in the range of 10 new destinations to be added, more routes also to be added, and the revenue percentage today, or I should say the ASK percentage of production, we've reached the 30%, and we've recently said that that number is going up to 40% of our operational basis.
All right, and that brings us to this partnership that you've had with the Accor Group, right? This is a loyalty exchange program. As a person who buys a ticket to an IndiGo flight, or as a person who stays in any of the Accor hotels, what benefits do I get?
It's going to be both. Whenever you're going to be staying and spending some time in an Accor hotel, so you get credit. Those credits are going to be usable under IndiGo Airlines. And same thing, if you were to actually use IndiGo without staying in an Accor hotel right now, well, because the next day, you're going to be able to use those points in any Accor hotel in the world. And we have 6,000 of them in 120 countries. So it's called a dual track, double dip. And I think it's going to be further than this, because we're going to have to think in terms of vision, experience, display experiences. It is the start of a pretty enjoyable journey.
Well, it's the first of its kind in India, between a global brand as Accor is, with presence in all these places where IndiGo is flying, and with the ambition IndiGo is having to grow. So for you as an Indian consumer, we have a lot of our customers are frequent flyers. That's exactly why we introduced our loyalty program, and people work in Delhi and have family in Goa, or the other way around. So they make all these domestic flights up and down, and then they want to take their family on an international trip. We started here from Mumbai itself to Krabi. There's hotels of Accor in Krabi. So you use your IndiGo blue chip points to convert them and to start using them in Accor hotels. I think that's a great opportunity for the aspirational Indian traveler, and that number is just growing day by day.
The one thing you would have learned about India is that we always want more, right? So,
well, that's my problem, because I guess I have a head start with 100 million customers on the Accor Live Limitless loyalty program. And he started late with 4 months ago, but he already has 2.5 million. Why don't we meet again in 20 years? I'm afraid I may be at 160,
quicker,
but he may be at 200 million. So it's only a matter of time where probably IndiGo loyalty program is going to be larger than Accor. But if we were to put it together, it would be the world leader.
There are multiple loyalty programs in the world, and some of them are on offer here in India as well. How is this any different from the others which are already there?
I think what this does is IndiGo has a fantastic presence in India itself. Market leader, 91 domestic cities, close to 500 domestic routes. And that just keeps growing and keeps growing and keeps growing. In the last few years, that has really jumped up. And that's the fundamentals and the foundations. But the Indian market is changing rapidly. More people are flying a lot domestic, and increasingly they go international. So where this will change, actually the perspective, is we use our very strong domestic Indian base, which is now going international, and there we basically team up with Accor to provide all those hotels. The other way around, foreign investments are coming here, foreign visitors are coming here, delegations are coming here. You started with the international dimensions. I can see the ties between India and Europe only getting stronger. Ties between India and other countries in the region only getting stronger. That's exactly where Accor has a lot of members. So the strong membership basis we're having in India and the Accor membership outside India, and increasingly with the announcement number 1 also in India, I think that is just a great marriage which we're starting here.
You speak about the ties between India and Europe. I see Europe and India on this table itself out here. But let's talk a little about IndiGo's business itself. The fourth quarter, how do you think the volumes have panned out for you? Have you met the guidances that you've had? And for the next year, what are your targets and aspirations?
Yeah, we've recently released our third quarter earnings.
Yes.
They're public.
And you held the analyst meet as well.
Exactly, and we had the analyst meet. We will have the fourth quarters in the not too distant future. Hence, I cannot make any speculations on how that is playing out. But at the analyst day, we've actually presented a quite optimistic view on how India is moving. And if you look to the public DGCA data for the month of Jan and the month of Feb,
yes,
they actually look very, very positive and reconfirming that growth. So the underlying demand and the underlying dynamics are good. So we have been able to live up with our capacity guidance. I mean, if you take a ballpark number for aviation, and I would guess for hospitality, it's not dissimilar. GDP times 2 in a market which is underpenetrated. So if we take that 6 to 7% of GDP growth, which is taking place in India, you have a kind of figure where the growth is ended. For next year, we estimate, again, a early double-digit growth number going forward.
And what about, the very near term? I ask you not because, I want you to land in any regulatory soup, but because oil prices are down and a third of your cost is actually of oil. How are you navigating through that? Do you stand to benefit in terms of 100, 200 basis points when it comes to margins? Yeah. Or maybe you pass that on to customers to increase your load?
If you and I would have this conversation 6 weeks back when the Kump was still there, you would have had a totally different question. You would have said your prices are up. Why are your prices up? The prices are going up all the time. So I think the prices are a reflection of natural fluctuations in the season. It's always there. Diwali, they go up. Lower season, they go down. So that is the general direction of how prices fluctuate with demand. I think what we see underlying is that the consumption demand in India remains very high.
So you net benefit from lower crude prices, that adds to your margin?
When we look to air travel, people continue to travel. And at the end of the day, there is a correlation between the prices of oil and the prices of tickets. The only thing, it's not happening overnight. That these are. But over time, if you want to run a business, there has to be a correlation between the two, right? Whoever is not making up for his cost, and that brings me to the point of cost leadership. That's where IndiGo stands out. If you keep that cost leadership, you can adapt and you can actually absorb those fluctuations.
What about IndiGo's own revenue mix? I was just looking at the numbers last year. While it is a very small proportion of your overall revenue, in absolute terms, your food and beverage revenue is at par with some of the quick service restaurants in India as well. So when you look at getting ancillary revenue from all the services that you offer, value-added services, etc., including the loyalty program that there is, eliminate the OTAs. What is the share of revenue that you expect to be coming from all the non-ticket items for IndiGo going forward? What's the target here?
Well, from an international perspective, the ancillary share is still relatively limited. And we put some of the food, which is part of the corporate pricing we do, we put that in that bucket because it's actually the price and then the food added to it. I think more in general, and that's part of our strategy. Our strategy in India is pretty simple. We're going to expand the basis. The number of first-time flyers will just continue to rise. These people want to go cheap from place A to place B. And they're the 3 customer promises of IndiGo: on-time performance, courteous and hassle-free, and affordable fares remain the basis. Today that number is still limited from an international perspective. So we continue to build that network. But at the same time, there's an aspirational India arising. And that aspirational India is traveling a premium product. That's why we have introduced it. Our stretch business product wants to go international. That's where our network and our collaboration is going. Wants to pay for additional services. Here your ancillary number comes in. So we're actually building on both. We keep our base promise, affordable fares, to go. It's the world's most competitive market. But at the same time, we start to add elements to that. And our product with IndiGo Stretch, our business product, is resonating extremely well, especially on this sector here, Delhi, Mumbai. But we've done it now also to Bangkok. It's working out very, very nice.
All right. And, I'm told that we're running out of time, so I'll keep it quick, rapid fire, one-word, two-word answers, if you could give us a sense. And as we're talking, the IndiGo share price has actually hit to be the most valued airline in the world, bar none. It is IndiGo, just top of the pops. So congratulations to you for that. One of the concerns that everyone had was these airports increasing their charges. How do you have to respond to that?
That's always, but thank you for the compliments first, and I really dedicate that to 60,000 people at IndiGo doing a great job each and every day, serving 3.5 lakh customers. When it comes to that price point all the time, we just keep building on that for our customers. So going forward, growth, pricing, network is going to be the key point.
Are the airports increasing their prices?
Airports increasing their prices, it's a matter of a discussion taking place in India and outside India. I think where I would like to sort of engage in a discussion with the airports, if the average prices in India are 6,000 rupees for a ticket, you don't want to have airport charges of 3,000 rupees, right? And that's exactly where I think we need to find a good balance between what is the price point for customers and what is the airport charges. So that's a continuous debate. Having said it on a more positive note, the quality of airports in India is getting better by the day, and that's a very important aspect.
Quality and quantity as well, with 200 likely in the next 20 years. Just a couple of more questions. Aircraft on ground, what is the situation right now, and how does it get better over the next year?
We've crossed the peak, and we are climbing out from the lowest point, or if you wish, the highest point in number of groundings. So we used to have a point where it was in the range of 70s, and actually every week now it's getting better. So again, given the earlier discussion, I'm not having a precise number to you today, but it's getting better.
And the next year target, what do you have in terms of margins? We have to ask you this because you're a cost leader out here.
Yeah.
How much better do you get?
You can ask me that, and it's your job to ask, and my job not to answer that question. And we're not giving any margin guidance.
All right, take that point. Thank you so much, Pieter. Thank you so much, Sebastian,
Thanks a lot.
for sitting down and having this conversation with us.
You.
Wish you good luck, both in the skies and in hotel rooms.
Thank you so much, sir.